Welcome to today's episode. I'm Sonia Gandhi, and I am so grateful you've chosen to be here. If you're here, it's likely because you've experienced a deep confusion and pain of a narcissistic relationship or a toxic relationship. You might have been asking yourself, why did I stay so long? Why do I keep finding myself in these situations? You might even be blaming yourself. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most agonizing questions survivors ask. Why is it so tough to leave a toxic relationship or a narcissistic relationship? And more importantly, why even when we know it's bad for us, do we sometimes feel stuck? This isn't about blaming you. It's really about understanding the powerful, often invisible forces that kept you there. Let's uncover the truths together so that we can break free and build a life that you really and truly deserve. So it's easy for outsiders to say, just leave. But those of us who've been in those relationships know it's anything but easy. You're not weak, you're not foolish, and it's certainly not your fault. What you experienced was a complex web of manipulation and psychological tactics that are really designed to keep you trapped. So let's break it down. There's 8 powerful reasons why that invisible chain felt so unbreakable. So the first is the image of perfection that you bought into. From the very beginning, you were indoctrinated to believe this person was wonderful, caring, and even maybe like a savior. When the abuse started, your brain automatically tried to make these excuses for the behavior. They're just stressed from work. They had a bad day. They're not feeling well. You rationalize their actions because you believed in the good person they seemed to be. Make it incredibly difficult to accept the reality of their abusive nature. The second is that magnetic pull of that love bombing, or sometimes what I call the golden period. You were exposed to an incredibly seductive golden period, those magical times when they were charming, attentive, and they made you feel like the most important person in the world. Your brain clings to these memories, believing the abuse is just temporary or it's an aberration that will pass. And the relationship will return to that beautiful, perfect, golden fairy tale kind of experience. This hope is a powerful form of manipulation. You live for those brief glimpses of that golden period, only for them to be snatched away again, often after years of waiting for something that never truly comes back. This misplaced hope powerfully masks that harshness, that reality of the situation you're actually in. The third is the fear of admitting that you were wrong. Many of you are independent, intelligent, and strong individuals. Admitting that you've been taken in by a narcissist can feel like admitting a mistake, causing some of that deep shame or that embarrassment. The thought of facing judgment from others, or even from yourself for allowing this to happen, it can be overwhelming. This internal struggle, along with the desire to return to that golden period, can lead you to put up with or endure ongoing abuse rather than face what is that possible or maybe inevitable shame of escaping. The fourth is the pressure from the outside world. Narcissists are masters of creating that public mask, that face, the one that you saw when you first met them. To the outside world, they might be this wonderful, charming, whatever person who's just a nice guy or a nice girl. Your friends and your family often, they see this nice version, that charming, the polished kind of persona, making it incredibly difficult for them to believe you when you try to explain the abuse. That external pressure can lead them to subtly or even overtly pressure you to stay, sometimes for their own comfort or because they simply don't understand. Their disbelief can make you feel even more isolated and hesitant to leave. I know for me, when I shared that I was leaving my marriage, many people had a reaction. And the reason they had a reaction was because many of them probably in their own ways struggled with considering separation from their partners. But then the guilt comes up and they don't want to deal with that. So when somebody says and is more definitive saying, I'm done, I'm leaving, it triggers some of these uncomfortable feelings. Or it puts single people, of course, as you may know if you're single, in this other category of, well, we can't socialize because we used to socialize with her and her husband. I know I've certainly lost a lot of friends that way. Just because when you're single, you end up in this other or different category. The fifth reason is that your deep desire to heal and fix comes up to the surface. If you're an empathic and honest and caring and compassionate person, which most of us are the targets for narcissists, you likely have that real deep desire to help them. You believe that if you just try harder, understand them better, or give them one more chance, you can help them overcome their abusive behaviors. This powerful urge, need to heal or fix them is often overwhelming, causing you to recognize the red flags, but stay anyways. Convinced you might be able to make a difference. It's a beautiful trait that a narcissist cruelly exploits, is your generosity and your kindness. The sixth is there's an invisible chain of codependency. Codependency. It's that potentially enabling, as some of the literature talks about, support the need that we have as highly empathic people to stay and to help and to fix. Perhaps, like me, you are a codependent. You might be unaware of these underlying qualities, but you feel a deep, often unconscious, belief that you cannot survive without the narcissist. This feeling of intense dependency keeps you stuck, keeps you scared that if you leave, you will be utterly lost or unable to make it on your own. I am proof that you can make it on your own. This isn't a rational thought, but it's a deeply ingrained feeling that really binds you. It keeps you stuck. Or what I often say is the illusion of stuck. The seventh is the narcissist's reality distortion field, or, just think of an invisible field. The narcissist, they're so incredibly persuasive and charming, making them a master at manipulation. Even if you start to recognize these tactics, they will relentlessly pressure you to confuse you, convince you, persuade you that you are the only one who's wrong, overreacting, hysterical, crazy. This constant degrading, devaluing, and validation of your reality makes you doubt your own memory and your judgment, causing you to accept their version of events rather than your own. It's like living in their personal reality distortion field. The eighth, the erosion of your sense of self, your core person. The eighth and last is the erosion of your sense of self, your core being. That adding up effect of all of these abusive behaviors is so devastating. Over time, you lose your ability to think logically and clearly. Your self-confidence, it plummets. Your self-worth, diminished, gone. And you are left with that profound exhaustion, the trauma, the fear. So it erodes that core sense of self that makes you feel utterly hopeless, powerless, unable to even see the red flags. Or if you do, you feel incapable of doing anything about them because you're lost. You've lost all your trust in yourself. You become a shell of who you were once. That's what I hear often from people, especially when I ask them who they are. And they don't know. They say, I don't know. I'm lost. Now, there is another more clinical reason, but I'm going to direct you to the trauma bonding episode, as it's a big factor. And it's one that I've lightly mentioned in my other episodes that we've scratched the surface with. I know hearing this can be heavy, but understanding these reasons is the first really crucial step towards that freedom. It's vital to internalize this truth. It was never your fault. You were in a relationship with somebody who's really good at what they do. They're a master manipulator who really exploited and used your best qualities. And they used some really sophisticated psychological tactics to keep you connected, tethered to them, bound to them. But the good news is you can get out of this dark cave. You can dismantle that invisible shield. Now, I know one of the questions I get asked often is, can a narcissist change? If I take responsibility, if I apologize, if I do this instead of that, if I didn't do that, maybe I could have, and maybe they aren't that bad. Maybe it's me. And a really common comment or question I get is, maybe I'm the narcissist. Well, we all have narcissistic tendencies, but when we keep giving chance after chance after chance out of the goodness of our heart, that doesn't make us a narcissist. That makes us highly empathic. It also makes us highly susceptible and vulnerable to this type of personality. I know when we first realize that we're dealing with someone who is emotionally cruel as well as just emotionally unavailable, we have to educate ourselves, continuing to learn about these dynamics and going down that rabbit hole of binge watching YouTube videos and listening to podcasts. Case in point, knowledge is part of your shield. Now, the next steps are kind of big, but I would suggest not ones that you can do alone at first. When we are in that thick of pain and loss, we do need someone to guide us out. So when I list out a few here, keep in mind that they are meant to be done with support. Seeking professional support, a therapist who specializes in narcissistic abuse can help you untangle some of that confusion and heal the trauma and build some of that effective strategies for you to be able to move forward. You don't have to do it alone. So rebuilding a sense of self-trust, you have to start small. Pay attention to your intuition. It's there beneath the layers of doubt. It's telling you the things that are happening are feeling unsafe, uncomfortable, or just downright wrong. Next, and I know you've heard this one before, is to set boundaries. I always say we got to start small. If you're somebody who has a hard time setting boundaries, we need to do it in small, bite-sized pieces. If you've heard some of my other episodes, I certainly have talked about little boundaries that I started to implement, and I started with sort of what I called the C zone, the outside people, the Starbucks barista, the shoe salesperson who didn't want to go look in the back. When we kind of push back a little bit, when we start to ask for what we need, we are starting to set boundaries. And we have to start small because we need to deal with the discomfort that comes up a little bit at a time. We can do it when it's in bite-sized pieces. We can't manage guilt because we feel like we've upset somebody. We can't manage the big guilt because then we'll backtrack and then we drop our boundaries. So we got to start somewhere where it's a little bit more reasonable. Maybe that's not so emotionally tied to a partner. Maybe it's something at work because you have more confidence at work. And at work, we're not as emotional. So that's kind of my first suggestion, is start somewhere where you feel a certain level of confidence. And maybe you do in certain arenas have boundaries and pushback. But we want to start small and understand and experience success in those areas and realize the world doesn't end. That's my saying that I say all the time to my clients. They probably get tired of me saying it, but they start repeating it. They say, I did it and the world didn't end. So take that as it comes for you. So firm boundaries are important in your life. Again, they don't have to be big to start with, but even outside that narcissistic relationship can start to build that reinforcement or that confidence. And we want you to start building your sense of your own autonomy, of I can make certain decisions by myself. I don't constantly need to look to somebody else to make these decisions. And the last is to reconnect with yourself. Now, I know that probably sounds a little woo-woo, but we have to kind of rediscover who we are before the abuse. Who was that person? Now, I appreciate for some of you who've been in sort of repeatedly controlling relationships, you might say, I never knew who I was. But what are the things that we loved to do? The joy that certain small things brought us. Like imagine if you used to have a dog and the joy that brought you. You might be a dog lover, and that might be a good place to start around kind of who are you? What were your values? What makes you feel alive? Or what made you feel alive? So remember, recovery, it's not linear, but it's absolutely possible. I'm further along the journey and I still have doubts, but I wouldn't be doing this podcast if I were still stuck in negative thoughts, specifically about myself, to the point of feeling worthless. That's what I thought of myself, given my upbringing of not being seen, heard, encouraged to develop my own sense of identity and value. I was always told what to do. I was told what to think. We didn't develop a sense of our own identity if we were prevented from it. You're not alone on the journey, and you have the strength within you to heal and thrive. And now the next question I can almost hear you ask is, okay, now what? Are you just going to tell me to go and get help? Who should I look for? Who will know about this? Well, many good therapists can help with many of the things that I've talked about. But I will say trying to find a therapist who understands, and let's face it, have experienced this type of trauma is not that easy to find. So I invite you to attend my masterclass. I finally decided to develop something that would be helpful for us to understand, are we susceptible to this? Are there unconscious things that are at play that we don't even realize that attract us to this type of personality? I've been working hard on my worth, which has led me to offering services specifically for victims of narcissism. Now, I didn't intentionally jump into this field. I knew, and I was uncovering that I was in narcissistic relationships on repeat. I just put on my profile one day that, well, I know enough about narcissism. I want to be able to help others because I experienced it. I'm a social worker, a therapist. I have empathy, and I had the support of a therapist who helped me through it. And I thought, I've seen people individually. I would love to help on a little bit of a bigger scale if I can. And so I genuinely put this out as, hey, my badge of self-worth is I can help people. And I know that I'm good at what I do. I didn't always, but that has been the build of my self-worth. So I invite you to my masterclass where you can understand a number of things about what happens in terms of our own belief system that place us in these types of relationships, unintentionally, of course. I do believe that there are people in various countries who provide services, and I am so proud to say that this is a labor of love that has finally come to fruition for me. It's taken me 5 years to develop this. I have developed course after course after course, taped it, never launched. Different modules I've created that sit in my draft box. Finally, I'm starting to step it out. First step is the masterclass. where I will share some of the questions, the thoughts, the beliefs that we have about ourselves that put us into these relationships. So look out for the link. I will be adding it to my comment section as soon as I am ready to launch the masterclass. It's almost done, and I'm very excited. And this came to me because I have treated several individuals and realized that I'm taking them through sort of a roadmap of steps to healing. And so I thought, why not me? Why not have something that's a little bit more accessible to people that will go through some of the steps? It's not perfect. And I'm proud of that, because being a perfectionist has been a burden for me. It has kept me stuck or kept me from moving forward. And I've had to consciously say, I'm not perfect. Humans are not perfect. So I'm going to put my best foot forward because my intention is to help. And so it's not perfect, but that's okay, because it is something I am proud of, something that's taken me years to develop the courage to do, the worth, the deservedness, all of that stuff that was and still sits there, but that I consciously override on a daily basis. And that's why getting help is so important, because we don't sometimes know what unconsciously is sitting there that we need to, pull apart and unravel. I did it, tackling those roadblocks, or maybe more accurately, my inner critic, when my mind said, you have to do it perfectly. And if I listened to that voice, I don't think I would have even gotten to here where I am now, of doing a podcast, putting some stuff on YouTube, all over social media. But I did it, and I'm proud of it. And again, it's not perfect, but it's me, and it's something that I'm wanting to share with you. So I hope that you'll seek it out. And along the way, I'm developing more and more exciting initiatives as I feel comfortable, confident that there is a need for it. And so I will drop the link below as soon as it's ready. So check back, but it will be added to all my podcasts once the link is ready.